the concept of Sewa is giving of yourself, right? Sewa is just more than giving charity. Is actually a lot more than giving charity. We don't see ourselves as somebody with a resource to give something to somebody else who need it, but it's really using our efforts to uplift humanity, using our efforts to raise our whole consciousness and raise everybody that we interact with. And Sewa TT was formed by a group of people who looked at Trinidad and Tobago, and we found certain gaps, right? And we decided, we sat down in a nice thinking session and figured out how we could fulfill these gaps. So some of the gaps that we found were in times of need, disasters. We have a need for blood, we have a need for food, a need for water, need for shelter, need for clothes, right? Amongst other needs too, and an organizing need. So in order to fulfill these needs, the first thing is we have to build capacity, right? And in order to have your capacity built, you have to have regular projects. And we found that in order to maintain this too, you have to practice. So Sewa TT has taken an approach where we will develop a project based on one of these needs, make sure that it falls within the sustainable development goals, and it falls within, or we take time to make it environmentally friendly. And then now we use it to build the human capacity and to build the tools and the knowledge base in how to execute. So one of the first needs is blood donations, for example. And blood, whenever there's a major natural disaster, blood is one of the most important urgent needs that you have. So Sewa TT started having blood drives, and to this date we have had 45 blood drives. And over the years we've been building our database of people, figuring out and getting the tools that we need to have successful, proper blood drives. So during the pandemic, when there was an urgent need, a lot of people were afraid to go to the blood banks. They were very afraid to go to the hospital because of the COVID pandemic, and the hospital they felt would have been a source, to attract COVID. So we spoke with the ministry and partnered with the Ministry of Health to have blood drives outside of the hospital system, and we were the only NGO during the main lockdown period to have blood drives. So we had 5 consecutive blood drives, adding almost 300 units of blood to the national pool, where the need is still there. Even though you don't have people who are getting in accidents because the country was under lockdown, we had people who still had heart attacks, who still had to do surgeries, and the need for blood was there, but people were afraid to go to the hospitals. So that's where that trust came in. That trust and the continuous practicing, we were able to figure out how to social distance and still have these blood drives. An next good example of how Sewa practice and how we do events that really work out well during a disaster is our health fairs. So over the years, Sewa would have done almost 20 health fairs over the past 10 years. And in that process, every year we come in contact with new medical students, new young professionals, and we interact with these doctors, these nurses, these veterinarians, and we incorporate them within the health fairs, and we figure out what are the services that they require. During the pandemic, when we knew that, okay, people had to be vaccinated in mass amounts, 6 months before we received our first vaccine, our think tank came together and we developed a mass vaccination plan using the NCIC Nagar. And we proposed that plan to the Ministry of Health, which the Ministry of Health thoroughly went through that plan and they thought it was a good idea. So when vaccines became available by the thousands, we were the first private mass vaccination site. The ministry provided the vaccines, and we were able in 45 vaccination days to actually vaccinate through Sewa TT and the Medical Association 86,000 plus people, right, will get vaccinated in those 45 vaccinating days. It was over a 3-month period. We did up to 6,600 vaccines in one day, right, which is a record no other institution in the entire country. And all of this based on volunteers. The volunteers who normally come to the health fairs, they are the ones, the medical ones were the ones who were vaccinated, the non-medical ones were help guiding the crowd to make sure that they social distance, and we still had everything going in a manner. But because we were constantly doing health fairs, we had the tools, we had the people, we had the ability to work out the concept of exactly what is required during the pandemic. So these are just two examples of how Sewa works and how we develop the projects, how we use the volunteers to make Trinidad and Tobago better.